Yo guys, what's going on? Blossoms back and welcome back to another episode of Top Drives and another episode of What Can You Get From That Pack. Today's pack in question is, of course, the In the Shadows carbon fiber. And I want to start today's video with some good news. I like the variation in this pack, the variation in terms of updates. You would think that, oh, it's a brand new tag and they're just gonna, basically utilize the ENW stuff. But much to my surprise, it's nice to see a nice variety of cars in this In the Shadow tag. Another good thing about it is that, well, yeah, I mean, the cars in the carpool in this In the Shadows 2, in my opinion, is better than the carpool in In the Shadows 1. But if you were around for In the Shadows 1 that came out maybe 2.5 to 3 years ago, that isn't saying much. The first In the Shadows was, that was bad. This one isn't much better, but it is better. And I do like the variety. I mean, for example, we have the Holden HSV, which is like, learn the Savannah way. We have the Hyundai Vision G, which is APGP. We have the Aston Martin V12, which is from an older update, great exhibition. What else do we have that's also pretty interesting? I know there's some American Frontier and American Dream cars that are included in the lower rarities as well. Some German Renaissance here and there. We got the Subaru Impreza of JPT, the Koenigsegg CCXR from European Revolution, the Reventon from Italian Renaissance, so on and so forth. So there is a decent variety here, and I just think that that's a slightly better variation than the In the Shadows that we had 2.5 to 3 years ago. Anyway, that being said, let's get into the nitty gritty. As always, I'm giving you my personal opinion on how good these cars are in a general sense, and if it's worth opening this pack for the long run. I mean, is this going to be a pack that you're just going to open to compete in a challenge, or is this going to pack that you want to open because it will give you cars that will benefit you from this challenge and beyond it as well? So let us get into it. We start with the Holden HSV Avalanche. Now, the Holden HSV Avalanche is a pretty interesting car. I'm going to show you a photo right here, and as you can see, among other 61s and 59s and 163, it's a pretty decent car. It performs pretty well in snow, decent on sand as well, and because of that, I'm going to put it here in frequent provider. At the end of the day, it's still a mid to high range all-surface tire 4-wheel drive. That's never going to be a daily driver or dirt kind of car, but it is one of the better ones within its RQ neighborhood, so I'll put it in frequent provider. It's all right. Another car that we see in here is the Hyundai Santa Cruz. Now the Hyundai Santa Cruz, as you can see back on this timesheet, it's really strong on the slalom, actually, winning on slalom snow and getting second place on slalom sand behind the Volvo V40 T5. Now, for an RQ59, that's actually not too bad. It's one of those cars where, like, it just has a lower RQ compared to cars with the same 0 to 60 and handling as it does, and the only reason why it has a lower RQ is because it has a lower top speed. I mean, there's a 20-mile difference between the Hyundai Santa Cruz and the Holden HSV when they bear the same handling and when they bear the same 0 to 60. So you can say that the Hyundai Santa Cruz being cheaper to use for the same value, and the only thing it lacks is a little bit more top speed, actually makes it a little bit more of a bargain. But at the end of the day, I'm going to put both of them in frequent provider, to be honest. The next one I want to talk about here is the Hyundai, the Enduro C UV. Yikes. The MRA on this thing, 67.01, leaves little to be desired, although it tends to be the second on 0 to 100 within this comparison that you see over here. But then again, I'm only comparing it to a Subaru Legacy, a B4 touring wagon, as well as an Alfa Romeo 159. That's not saying much. There are not a lot of times with this car on Top Drives records, as you can see, and honestly, I don't think that this is a car that we're going to be using too much. It has the same base stats as the Subaru Legacy GTB in terms of 0 to 60 and handling. It's a slightly higher top speed and a worse MRA. 67 compared to the Subaru 74, and I can tell you right now that RQ50 Subaru that you see in the comparison is something that I don't even use. So because of that, I'm going to put the Hyundai Enduro in hot garbage, and I have unpacked this car a few times and I've fused it away, and I'm an ultra collector and I'm fusing this away, and I don't even have one fully upgraded, and I'm pretty certain that if there was a rebalance update maybe a decade from now, the Hyundai Enduro would definitely go down to a Super Air, and I think it would just be more worth it to get it as a Super Air and upgrade it as a Super Air. I can save some cash that way as well. Moving on to the Hyundai Vision G Coupe. Now the Vision G, I freaking love this car actually. It knows what it wants to be. I'm gonna put it in daily driver. It's a Korean test bowl car. That's it. It's like the god of the Korean test bowl cars. I love it. It's actually so fun. As you can see in this comparison over here, yeah, it doesn't win any drags, but it's the best car for the test bowl, and it's great. Also, the only car that's able to complete the 0 to 170 because all the other cars DNF. It's literally beating out maxed out epics. Hyundai Passacorto, Hyundai Envision 74. I mean, even if the Hyundai Envision 74 had like 100 MRI back when it used to, it's not going to get the 0 to 170. So the Hyundai Vision G Coupe is special in the sense where there are not a lot of Korean cars that have a top speed of more than like 170 miles per hour. So because it's the only one in that case, and if you get that 332, I have a drag spec at 332, it gets 190 miles per hour for a top speed, which is insane. I don't know if that is accurate towards the car itself. Maybe Hyundai would put a limiter on that because it is supposed to be a luxury car. But I digress. As far as it goes in the game right now, I mean, 180, that's as high as it gets. It is the benchmark for Korean test bowl, Korean was it 0 to 170. So I'm gonna put that in daily driver. Love that car. Now moving on to the Lincoln MKT, and I'm also gonna put that in hot garbage. It's just a car that I'm just never ever gonna use. I have it in my garage. I have it fully upgraded, and there was never a time where this car was called upon. So because of that, I'm just gonna put it in hot garbage. And I'm gonna throw in the Warlock in there as well. Love the name, love the brand, but I'm gonna be honest with you, the fact that it's the only Ram out there that doesn't have all surface tires, off-road tires, is a huge blow to its utility. Moving on now, we're going to talk about the Mazda CX8 2.5 all-wheel drive. Now, within its RQ neighborhood of 57 to 58, it's not too bad. I mean, it will get its fair share of losses against the Subaru Levorg, but then again, most cars within that RQ neighborhood will lose to the Subaru Levorg. It also loses in many cases to the Mazda 323. But where the Mazda CX8 shines within its RQ neighborhood is City Street Small, Fast Circuit, and some of the faster stuff, and that's mainly because it has slightly more MRA. In this comparison, it has the highest MRA of 68. It's not saying much. But yeah, I would put it in frequent provider, nothing more, nothing less. The thing is, I can only compare these cars within their own RQ now. There's so many cars in the game, so everything is super saturated. But also at the same time, I guess it wouldn't be fair if I compared it against like the CX9, I believe, which is like the red one, which is like RQ63 now, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, against other 57s, and the main one being the fact that it can beat some races against the Subaru Levorg. Okay, fine. I'll let it buy. I'll give it a frequent provider. Now, the next car that I do want to talk about, though, is the other four-wheel drive standard tire car, which is the Lincoln MKS Concept. Now, this one is not impressive at all. Definitely not a bargain. As an RQ64 car, it fails to win almost anything, and it even loses to other American four-wheel drive standard tire cars. If you compare it against the RQ62 Chrysler 300C Glacier Edition, it loses to the Glacier on if I can get the line right, hairpin wet, as well as Monaco hairpin wet, as well as City Street Small in the wet. Now that's a huge blow. So yeah, honestly, the Lincoln MKS, it's just overpriced. The RQ is way too high. Yes, you will get some use out of it because it is four-wheel drive and standard after all, but there are better options to use, as you can see. Now moving on to the Mitsubishi GTO, this car, again, pernicious ulcer. There are other GTOs that you can use, that just isn't one of the best ones. The Mitsubishi Lancer GSR Evolution 2, however, is a fantastic addition to your garage. Has great handling, four-wheel drive, medium ground clearance performance tires, and it is a lightweight car. So that is one that is a no-brainer, a car that I would absolutely have in my garage. Now, next up is the Morgan Aero GT. I mean, Brazen, obviously, he can wail all he wants, but it's pernicious ulcer at best, if not hot garbage. As you can see, I'm putting it up against other Morgans, and that's not saying much. Comparing Morgan to a Morgan is comparing like cow shit to dog shit. Like, it's not much of a difference. The moment I put in the Porsche 911 Carrera and the Jaguar XKR, it wins everything else. Shout out to the Morgan Aero Super Sports, though. That is the best car for the hairpin road and the indoor karting, so that is really impressive. And obviously the Morgan Plus 6 has that really low 0 to 60, which can help it on Canyon Tour and some drag sets that are not seen in this comparison. But the Aero GT, however, is kind of like trying to be the jack of all trades kind of car, and it loses and it wins absolutely nothing. Now moving on to the Subaru Impreza WRX sedan, I'm gonna give that hot garbage as well. I think one of three or one of two ultra rares from JPT that I have not collected and upgraded and maxed. that speaks volume. But usually, this is the funny thing though. One thing I've realized is that usually the cars that I say are absolutely terrible, some people in TDO always say that I'm wrong and those cars are actually good. So yeah, I mean, if you're one of those people, go max that Subaru Impreza. Okay, go max it out. They'll put it up against a Nissan Skyline R33 or something else with medium ground clearance and 4-wheel drive. I mean, the R33 is not medium ground clearance, but I just can't think of a medium ground clearance car on the top of my head. But yeah, go use that. That's probably like the best car, blossom choice in your eyes, probably, right? If you go to TDO. Anyway, moving on to epics. I'm going to start off with the Aston Martin V12 Vantage. Honestly, frequent provider at best. I love that car, trust me. MRA is good, top speed is high, handling is good, great jack of all trades kind of car. Only problem that I put in frequent provider is because there's so many freaking jack of all trades kind of cars now, where like the Aston Martin V12 is kind of getting diluted in that pool. It's still a great car. It's just that there are better options. If it was like a 76 or something like that, it would be better. It's crazy that I'm calling it like it should be 76 because this thing literally used to be a legendary, then it went down to 79, then 78, now it's 77, and it's slowly just going down the pecking order of things, which is really sad to see. It's a really good car, and I actually really want it in my garage. But there's not been a lot of situations where I've needed to use the V12 Vantage RS, to be honest. Moving on is the Audi A6. I do have a comparison sheet for this one as well. So yeah, the Audi A6 Avant 3.0. As you can see, it wins absolutely nothing. It even makes the Skoda Superb look pretty good. The Skoda Superb is absolutely terrible. And as you can see, it doesn't win all much. It's mostly second and third place, and it loses to the BMW 530D. But you can see in this comparison, I'm being really nice to the Audi and also the Skoda Superb. I'm putting it up against some really weak four-wheel drive center tire cars within that RQ neighborhood of 78 to 76. And as you can see, looming on the right side of the comparison is the Hyundai Ioniq and the GMC Cyclone. Those cars aren't even the best. If I really wanted to put the best, we could bring back, the reincarnation of the DS numero 9, which went back to standard tires, or even the Hyundai Ioniq 677, the one that is also in the shadows. And yeah, I mean, those cars dominate. So the Audi, I mean, I think a lot of people know where I'm going to put this now. It is definitely hot garbage. I mean, for 76 RQ and less handling than a 71 RQ BMW 530e, which I'm going to put in frequent provider, it's just so sad. Like, the car is so expensive to use and it's not worth it. Like, I'm definitely never going to upgrade that. One car that is really good though is the Hyundai Ioniq 677. That's going to be the first car in Der Kaiser in my opinion. And I think this is a great spectrum of kind of how I see the four-wheel drive center tire epics that you can get from this pack. Hyundai at the top, BMW is someone and the Audi A6 is just a piece of crap. Now the BMW 545i, again, it's pernicious ulcer at best. It has MRA. That's it though, like it's still a low RQ epic, which most people are not going to upgrade. Handling is not that great, 0 to 60 is not that great, just the MRA is good, but the top speed isn't that high. And then again, if you want to use a dragster in the wet, you'd rather just use a performance tire car anyway, because those cars usually tend to have way lower 0 to 60s, way higher top speeds, and way better MRA, which is enough of a deficit to take away the fact that it doesn't have center tires when you compete it up against a BMW 545i like that. Hope that makes sense, because that was a lot in such a short period of time. Now, moving on is the BMW M340i. Again, just a car that kind of just flies over my head. I forget that it exists. The Holden HSV, again, pernicious also. I mean, I have this car fully upgraded, ladies and gentlemen. Got that maxed out to get the Mercedes Sauber C9. And yeah, since then, I mean, I have used it in a handful of events that are usually limited to Holden or Learn the Savannah Way saloons. That being said though, although I do get a decent use out of that car even after the Tri-Series, it always loses to the green green Holden anyway, like the green saloon, or even the green pickup truck, the green Ute, I should say. So it's just never gonna be in a situation where it's good unless the event is like Holden, Learn the Savannah Way, and it has to be just white cars only. It's just not gonna have a time to shine. Infiniti Q60 Black S is next, and I'm gonna put that in daily driver. It still remains one of the best Japanese dragsters to date, and it has been the Japanese epic dragster up till APGP when the Mazda 545, I believe, was introduced, the race Mazda, that's RQ76, 77, something like that. But yeah, the Infiniti Q60 Black S is still a great bargain, a great dragster, definitely a daily driver in my opinion. Now, moving on, we got a lot of four-wheel drive cars. I kind of want to get rid of the four-wheel drive cars out of the way first. So the Volvo S60, I'm just going to put at the bottom. The Volvo Concept Coupe, I'll put in pernicious ulcer. The Mitsubishi Lancer, I'll put in frequent provider just because it simply handles the best. The Mitsubishi Pajero Evolution is a car that I have fully upgraded, and I have to tell you, man, it's not that useful. I'll put it in pernicious also. The only reason why I'm not putting it in hot garbage is because it has shown up in a handful of events. I think it's one of Hutch's favorite cars to utilize. It's like the new Jaguar 575. It just fits in everything, I guess. The Subaru Impreza WRX, again, it's a car that I had early on in JPT, which I fused away. The Ultima Sport was a car that I really wanted to rate highly. It has a really beautiful photo. I think it's a really good looking car. It has some decent stats, but as you can see within this comparison, it's not that good. The only thing that it shines in is the Canyon Tour, and that's about it. It loses everywhere else, getting second place in indoor karting and slalom, and third place in G-Force and hairpin road. And this is within a very niche comparison compared to a TVR Griffith, a Porsche GT2, Porsche GT3 RS, a Lotus Evora GT430, and a Dodge Viper GTSR Concept, along with its, I guess, niche brother in a RQ7390s, but it is a prize car, the Lamborghini Diablo GT. So unfortunately, the Ultima Sports, and jack of all trades, master of none, but it definitely doesn't win anything as well. I have to put it in pernicious ulcer. I'm sorry, the stats don't lie, numbers don't lie. Now moving on, Subaru Impreza WRX STI, again another car that you're just not gonna use that often, to be honest. I'll put it with the other Subis in pernicious ulcer as well. Now moving on to legendaries, and I'm gonna be completely brutal with the legendaries. We're gonna start with the Alpha and the AC. Both of these cars are definitely pernicious ulcer in my opinion. I mean, those are RQ80s waiting to be epics. They are waiting to be RQ79s or 78s. They do not deserve to even have that legendary name. So definitely pernicious ulcer in my part. The Bentley Continental Super Sports might come as a shock to some people, but I'm going to put it in daily driver because it is one of the best four-wheel drive performance tire Bentleys that you can unpack. This, alongside with the Deadpool Bentley, which is the red and black one, are the only two Bentleys with four-wheel drive performance tires that also get 90 MRA. So it is like the king of the Continentals, if you put it that way. And also it's getting cheaper and cheaper to use over time. That used to be 90, then it went down to 89, then 88, now 86. It's not that bad. I'll be honest. It's really not that bad. As far as Bentleys go, you're going to get used to it. Especially if it's a Bentley event, like, you're going to get some use from that. The Arash LM is a pretty good car as well. I'm going to put that in daily driver. The Brabham BT62, again, daily driver. Main reason why I'm not putting it into cars is because I think the RQ is way too high for this car, man. I think it's just way too overpriced. I can think of, like, better 93 cars and 94 cars and 95 cars to use. And usually when you're already pushing it in the 90 plus RQs, you're just going to break the bank and go all the way to your 96, 7s, and 8s. So, you know, you gotta really stand out as a 93 to use it, and unfortunately the BT62 does not stand out. The Koenigsegg CCXR, again, it's alright, it's decent. I'll put in daily driver. The Reventon is frequent provider, but then again, I am being nice about it. I was talking about it in the stream that I did earlier on today. I pulled my Reventon. I own a Reventon. I pulled it in early 2020, January 2020, 4 years ago, and I have not used the Reventon since in absolutely anything. So yeah, take that as you will, but obviously if you're a beginner player and that's one of your few legendaries that you have in your collection, that car is going to be, you know, a lifesaver. Last but not least is W Motors Lycan Hypersport, and I'm going to put that in daily driver as well. So there you go, in the shadows. Wonder crazy car. I mean, if I was completely honest with you, none of the legendaries are actually worth it. The Ioniq is great and all, but yeah, I mean, this is the reality of things, man. This is my personal opinion, but honestly, the Kaiser, only one car. Literally only one car. But anyway, guys, that's going to be it for today. Let me know down in the comments below if you're going to open this pack or not. I'm going to miss it, as I miss most packs that come to the store nowadays. Nothing just tends to excite me anymore, to be honest. I think maybe I'm getting a little bit too strict with my reviews. Who knows? Let me know down in the comments below if I'm being a bit too harsh with my reviews. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. Stay safe, wash your hands, and blossom out. Peace.
Bro, this song just makes me so happy.
Me too.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got it, jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Imagine being Asian in the 50s, looking nifty, leather jacket, looking sleek, look like Presley, look so deadly, got it, jukebox back at home, feeling jazzy, turn it on and play it slow, like the movies with the ladies.
They so fine.
Sit back, relax in my Bonneville.
Pontiac,
hold tight all night, cruise to Jacksonville,
Atlantic,
blonde hair, don't care, look